Okay, so I think we can finish with the chapter, at least with chapter 4. So now we come to the kleshas. Yeah, again, the whole chapter is on conscientiousness, kind of being conscious. First, that we have made a promise, not to forget that. Then being conscious about the preciousness of our birth, of our existence, and then being conscious that it won't last. Yeah, so these are the first points. And then the next point is comes now is like to be conscious about the kind of the nature and the function of kleshas, what they do to us. Okay, so we're on page 56, verse 28, where it says abandoning non-virtue. Okay. So, although such enemies such as hatred and craving have neither arms or legs, and are neither courageous nor wise, how have I been used like a slave by them? So he's talking about, there's kind of 5 faults in kleshas. So one of them is that they enslave us. So then, we can ask ourselves, like, how is it that we all have the intelligence to know that following these kleshas is not going to get us anywhere? I mean, do you know that? And how is it that they have so much? How is it that they have so much power over us? What do you think? Habit, exactly. Habitual tendency. This is again when you look at when you look at the karmic results. See, we usually only think about one karmic result. It's like the same thing happens to us. Like we are unkind to somebody else, then they're unkind to us, and maybe more or less or whatever. But also the dangers about karma is that it also ripens on the level of habits, yeah, and we don't really understand that. So just knowing that they are enslaving us, is doing a few things. First of all, we stop identifying with them, and we stop saying I'm angry or I'm sad or I'm depressed. You go like there's anger in the mind, there's depression in the mind, there's sadness in the mind, there's attachment in the mind. So you already make a step kind of backwards, and you start to see certain things. And actually these steps also, they're quite helpful to know. Like when you feel that an emotion is coming up, because you feel them if you are aware, if you're conscientious. If you're not, then you don't. So I don't know how you felt by collecting the garbage. How did it go? Oh wow, everybody's smiling, not like poor me, poor me, poor me.
So fantastic.
Huh?
I wanted to thank you about it.
Okay. And did you notice that first you think, oh, it's quite clean, yeah? You don't even, like until now you didn't even see it in a way. And then when you start kind of collecting it, then you start to see it, and then you see how much there still is there. But it's the same thing with our mind. When we don't look, when we're not conscientious, we think we're quite okay. And it's when you start to clean up, when you start to look at them, you go like, wow, there is so many of them. Yeah? But every time you kind of chuck a few out, even though maybe you don't see a big difference yet, when you don't see a big difference yet, then still you see, well, there is a difference because you see the garbage bin, and I saw that one garbage bin is full here, and I used the big one up there, and I had a few buckets full, and this and that, and so it's kind of satisfying when we see that, they're going. Still, there's a few left, but we shouldn't be discouraged about that. And there's a very good example in Tibetan Buddhism also. Like you see, shamatha is very difficult, understanding of emptiness is very difficult, having real compassion is very difficult. Doing purification practices, that's kind of easy. Because you take a sadhana, it says what you're supposed to visualize, it says what you're supposed to say, it says what you're supposed to think, and then you you just do it. At the end, you dedicate, I've done this right, because it doesn't say that I should do more. It's only us again, who look what exact color is this one? It doesn't matter what exact color. As long the 4 powers are easy to understand, right? Remorse or regret, you see, then the bodhicitta and refuge, then you say the mantra, you visualize that light is coming in and chucking everything out, and then at the end you make a strong determination not to do again. So the analogy with this, that we're too lazy to do these little things, we're too arrogant in a way. Yeah? So then we are like somebody who says, well, I can't afford a good horse, but also I don't want an inferior one, so therefore I walk. I don't like an inferior one, so therefore I walk. Or somebody who says, well, I don't have money for good food and I don't want to eat just soup and bread, so therefore I don't eat. You see, like, I can't attain enlightenment very quickly, so therefore I don't do anything. So this is kind of this thing that we have a tendency to do. So if we start doing the things that we can, like now here, if the task would have been to clean up the whole kibbutz, I mean, we wouldn't be happy now because we see, oof. Yeah, whereas it was just whatever you see, pick it up and chuck it out, and then that's it. So we do whatever we can, and then also don't forget to rejoice about this. We always forget to rejoice. We don't dedicate properly, we don't rejoice. Yeah, so then all these factors are missing on our path, so that finally we will understand emptiness and we will be able to develop shamatha. So then again, the conscientiousness to see how does a klesha arise. It arises when there is tension, when I have what I don't want or I don't have what I want. It's usually aversion and too much liking. Yeah, so like wanting or not wanting. We're always between these two things. Yeah, most of the time. And so we feel that this is a kind of some kind of narrowness coming up in here, and then you pause, you don't do anything, and you start to analyze it, and you start to use thoughts in order to dissolve it. Like, for example, somebody makes you upset, you go, 100 years from now, who cares about this? Yeah. Or you think about karma, that, then you look at your state of mind. What would I say now? Will I regret it at the end, or and then like this, it calms down a bit. Then you try to go to the other side. You try to see it. Once you have calmed down a bit, you try to see it from another perspective. Is it really just their fault? I mean, I was here. If somebody's upset about me, I was here right now. If I would not been here, they wouldn't be upset about me. Yeah? And then also like, am I really, really faultless? Like Jesus said, whoever is without sin can throw the first stone when people got stoned at that time. And he was the only one who threw a stone. So it's also my fault. So this is the next step, that you start to look from the other perspective. Then you try to see the nature of your klesha. You really go into it, like where is it? Where is it? You try to find it, you try to grasp it, and you come deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper down. All you're left is with nothing. You kind of dissolve it into its nature. And then, when you're really good at this, you go and, you go and provoke your kleshas, so that they come up, so that you can train. So you're not afraid of them anymore. So then, again, like, the way I started, because I took gloves, but they were so thin that they kind of broke like very quickly. And so then, at first it was a bit, when you go with bare hands, then afterwards you go with both hands into the dirt and you think, well, I can wash them like this. So that's the same thing with the kleshas. At the beginning we're a bit afraid of them, because we're not used to them. But once we have a handle on them, once we know how to deal with them in a very skillful way, we can go with both hands into the dirt and look at it, and okay, it stinks, it's dirty and all this, but like this we can get rid of it. This is why it's very, very important that you become familiar with your kleshas. So this is from now on here, that's the conscientiousness, to know their function and how they rise, and the consequences of them, especially that also, you know, not just short term, but the consequences of them. So we do have an inborn intelligence also, the same way as we have an inborn goodness and an inborn spaciousness. So then when we see this chain reaction, you know, the quick kind of cramping up, and then the energy coming up, the energy becoming stronger, and we see that it's a chain reaction, then we get very agitated. The more agitated we are, the more narrow we become, the more we project outside, and the more it's like totally unskillful what comes out of our mouth. And so we are able, with time, we're able to stop it at the beginning, not to suppress it, but to really see it, so that the chain reaction is not going where then it's, you know, the storm is already, it's too late to stop it. Okay? And we're like addicted to our pleasures because we use them for protection, and like this comes a little bit later. So then think about this, you know. What can I do now? Which kind of practices can I do now? So as I said, you can be kind by smiling at someone, by talking a little bit with them in a very kind way, or by, picking up garbage. Why not? And it's so interesting to see the mind. You know, me after 15 minutes, because I was up into something, I got hot, and I started to worry about my back. You know, because up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Well, maybe I should stop. Maybe I'll get a headache. I don't have a hat. Maybe you know, this worry, this constant worry, how this is going to damage me. I'm still alive. Yeah. So it was the same thing. Oh, how long is this going to last? Yeah, like then I thought, hey, come on. You said you want to do this as a Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva doesn't give up until all beings are kind of, or Buddha doesn't give up until all beings are liberated. So then it's good to see that childish mind who is constantly frightened about the short-term consequences. Then if you do have a backache, you go, okay, may that backache become the cause for my enlightenment, or anything like this. You can, as Lama Zopa says, then you can transform caca into gold. Yeah, because it's our negative thoughts that we really see when we are conscientious. That's what we see first. Because they're so apparent, and we see how childish they are, and how they actually hold us back. So the thing is, when we're not conscientious, when we're not aware, we follow them without really, without being conscientious. We just follow them. Yeah? So next time you feel pleasure coming up, she says, stop and take a few deep breaths. Okay. The next one. So, and also, you know, for this one, you can use some kind of pride here. I'm sick and tired to be the slave of my pleasures. To really separate yourself from them. It's not you. These are mistaken views in the mind. But I will not allow them anymore to control me. They will control you for a long time, but this is the first step. Yeah, to see that I am a slave of my pleasures. And we think we're so independent. We're not. Sometimes I work with young people or with teenagers. I give them workshops on introduction to Buddhism. So then I let them sit, and then I ask them, what is your deepest wish? What is really important for you in your life? I let them reflect on that. And one of them said, Selbstbestimmung. One of them said, like, to be able to decide myself, you know, to be, how do you say in English?
Free will.
How?
Free will?
Yeah.
Independent?
It's not just will, it's really kind of, anyway, yeah, something like that.
To decide about what?
What, anything. Anything. Where you want to go. So I said, okay, so who do you think is standing in the way for that? So who do you think is standing in the way for that?
My parents.
If my boss. No, she said my teacher. My teacher, my boss, my parents, my partner, my children, my this, my that. So it's the pleasures who are controlling us. Yeah. And a very good antidote for kleshas is also take a step back and look, how would the situation be if there wouldn't be a klesha, my klesha involved? Now, you don't have control over other people's kleshas, but to really ask, how would it be, the whole situation, if I wouldn't have a klesha? Klesha is a negative emotion, something that disturbs the mind, something that is able, like for example, that conflict yesterday, although it has nothing to do with us, but it had an effect, at least on my mind. Did it have an effect on your mind? So it makes the mind unsubdued and unpeaceful. Yeah?
Sorry, I wasn't aware that there was a conflict.
Okay. This is what one calls shamatha. Like,
I thought they were happy and happy.
She's a Bodhisattva.
good. That's what is called pure view. So you see, even that is not from its own side a conflict. Somebody else's mind, my mind labeled it a conflict. Leora's mind labeled it just a very loud conversation.
Yeah.
Regular is
Regular is
really
really talking.
talking.
They're not whispering because they're not in silence, but they're talking.
Okay.
She was shouting and crying.
I think somebody felt that their needs were not fulfilled or something.
Yeah.
Tried to kind of bring that across, and the other one just also tried to explain that no. So you had a very good example out there. If somebody's so agitated, do not try to explain something to them. Just tell them, oh, I really love you. Or take them in your arms if it's not too dangerous. and agree with them. Agree with what they say. Don't even try to give them another point of view. They will not be able to take it. And then maybe they will calm down, and then maybe you can say something. But again, we're not here to change other people's views, although we all constantly trying to do that. 29. For while they dwell within my mind, at their pleasure they cause me harm, yet I patiently endure them without any anger, but this is an inappropriate and shameful time for patience. We're very patient with ourselves. You know, much more patient than with other people, also with ethical conduct. For other people, the demand how they should behave ethically is very, very high. They should not lie to me, they should not steal from me, they should always be kind to me. Huh? Of course, yeah, that's what we want, isn't it? And we get upset if they don't. Whoa, if somebody lied to me, my gosh, it's like a big disaster. But then, for my ethical conduct, you know, ooh, oh, I did it because, yeah. So we always have excuses. So not only they enslave us, like in verse 28, but in verse 29, we are patient with them, or we welcome them. Because as Pema Churchen says, that we are very, very familiar with them. And they give us some kind of support. And they, like this chain reaction, sometimes we actually enjoy it. Because like hatred and anger gives us some kind of feeling of power and being competent, being in control. Yeah, makes us stronger than we are. If it's Yetzon, Yetzon is this really, really big, quick kind of. Yeah means like right now. Zon is like really strong. Strong anger, anger times 10. That's Zon, wrath, right? So then that one is like even, it gives us a feeling of like being totally invincible when we have this righteousness, like, oh. Yeah, so then, and then also like desire and even greed, it feels like it's comforting somehow, and this is even romantic or nostalgic. We're crying because of past lovers, or we are grieving for dreams that did not get fulfilled. That did not get fulfilled. So it's like this bittersweet feeling of something that didn't happen or is lost and is gone and all this. So that's why we don't even think of stopping these chain reactions. We're familiar with them, and in a perverse way, it makes us to be somebody.
It really
Did you ever-
causes the feeling of I.
I, exactly. That's what it does. Then the I is there because it's the I, the me, that is kind of bringing them up. And then the I says, woohoo, the Buddha says I don't exist. Look, I'm right here in the middle of your chest. Have you ever noticed how, it's like, that we inflict wounds on ourselves that are not necessary. When you go to the airport and somebody comes with you that you really love or you're attached to, how many times do you turn around before you just go? How many times? Many times. And it hurts. But still you do. Yeah. Luckily I'm not so attached to people anymore, so now I don't cry anymore when I go. But even here, also at the beginning, I hated it when people came with me to the airport because I had to cry. And that wasn't crying because of kindness or of inspiration. It was crying, oh, I have to go. It was pain. Yeah. Now, not so much anymore. Now I can turn around and wave, and it's okay. So please don't think that I became kind of colder or something like that. But it's like, when I had to go at the beginning from houses of very, very old and good friends, what I preferred is that they're not up in the morning yet, and I have to leave very early. Then there was no pain. But they were up, and I had to say goodbye. It was so painful, and everybody cried, and me included. Okay, now 2 minutes later, also it's gone. But still, that moment. So it is as if somehow we are enjoying that thing, because as Miri says, it reaffirms our view of a truly existent, autonomous I. It kind of supports that. So then she says we cannot allow ourselves to be naive, because as long as we like our pleasures, as long as we see them as our friends, then we will never do anything against them. Yeah. So she says a good example, or a good how to compare, would be a drug dealer. As long as you're an addict, that person is your friend. You look for him or her because you need whatever they give you. The moment you want to get rid of your addiction, then you see that this one is not my friend, this one is my enemy. So, but you don't, like the drug dealer, you need to avoid the person, but with the kleshas you need to, because they're not as solid as the drug dealer, the kleshas. So you learn to work with them. You don't need to avoid them, you don't need to suppress them, you need to study them. And like with every detox process, it's difficult and it's painful, and there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of anxiety and nervousness. So if you go against your kleshas, this is what will happen. Yeah? So again, the courage to endure the hardship of saying no. It's painful not to say that nasty word. It's painful not to go and tell your friend what this other one again has done to you. Again and again and again and again and again. It's painful to not act them out. Okay? And then she also says we should not underestimate the healing power of self-reflection. Just by seeing. Because, as I said, we all have this inborn intelligence. It's there. We do know what is good and we do know what is not good. And the more calm we are, the more that factor can actually operate. So by just reflecting on these things, by just looking what these kleshas do to you, by really being conscientious, but not by doing anything about them. This is it. Yeah. Then we have the kleshas, and even though a bit later on it says that we should use anger against them and attachment to be free from them, but it's not meant that distorting anger or that distorting attachment. What is meant is just the energy of it. Yeah? But the thing is, we don't really want to study them, but every time we see what they're doing to us, our intellectual knowledge of what they do to us and our emotional reaction get a bit closer, Because at the moment it's like this, yeah? Our intellectual knowledge is very high about what they do to us. If it would just be a matter of knowing, we would all be rid of our pleasures. But because of habitual tendencies, the emotional reaction that actually, when the reaction comes, it goes even more like that. Yeah? But every time you see it and you're not acting it out, it comes closer and closer and closer and closer until it finally fits. So there's two categories of beings where intellectual beliefs and emotional reaction are the same. For example, the Buddhas. So we're not Buddhas, okay? So for us it's the reaction, and the intellectual knowledge is a bit like this. But there's another category of beings where this is the same. Which category is that?
The one is in ignorance. When one thinks that the pleasures are...
People are totally in ignorance and think anger is good and I need my attachment. Otherwise, how can I have a happy life? And, I enjoy when I attach to something. So which category are you belonging to? The one in the middle. So that's a good thing. Because we could also be the ones which are really deep, deep, deep in ignorance and think that the pleasures are a good thing. So I think all of you are in that category, but whether that's true or not, you're the only one who can find it out. Okay. So then again, also, it's like, here Shantideva is very firm in what he says. So it's your job to analyze and to see that what he says is true or not. Are we slaves to our pleasures?
Yes.
Yeah? Do we welcome them when they come? Yeah. Then, 30. Should even all the gods and the suras rise up against me as my enemies, they could not lead me nor place me in the roaring fires of the deepest hells. So if somebody hurts you very badly, or if somebody cheats you, or whatever, they cannot throw you in your next good or negative or suffering rebirth. It's only your pleasures that can do that. So no power outside of us has the power to throw you into a lower state. Yeah. So when Demalocha Rinpoche was here, he was teaching on the essence of refined gold, but also on Atisha's jewel garland for Bodhisattvas, I think, which is also some kind of Lojong text. So he talked about, he said, if somebody harms you with words, then you think, okay, he harmed me, so we're not making it smaller, okay, they're not ignoring it. Say, okay, he harmed me, but at least he didn't injure me. If somebody injures you, then you go, okay, he injured me, but at least he didn't kill me. If he kills you, then you go, okay, he killed me, but at least he can't throw me into the lower states. It's a very good antidote for anger, Whatever happens to you, first we react, because also when I was picking up something here, it was full of water and it went on my shamtap. And I went like, ooh, as if that's like big disaster. Who knows what kind of liquid was in there? I don't know, probably water, I don't know. Actually, it hadn't drained, so I don't know what it was. But maybe water from the irrigation kind of thing. And then I thought, hey, come on, you can wash it. Sometimes we have to, it's like a big thing. As if somebody had planted it there so that I put it on my skirt in order to make me upset. This is what the ego mind is kind of, who put it here? But that's what we're doing. Yeah? Always somebody else's fault. Then, 31. But the mighty foe, disturbing emotions, in a moment can cast me amidst those flames, which when met will cause not even the ashes of the king of mountains, Mount Meru, to remain. So here he is thinking that, he's thinking about the consequences now. That, of course, you get angry at somebody or whatever, then maybe the whole thing calms down again. But it leaves traces on the mind. It leaves imprints. Yeah, that at one point will throw us into the lower states. And so this happens when you lose it emotionally and you start to give these pleasures total, you give up control and you let them do, say, whatever you want.